And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Saturday edition of the three-man week best bet show, spinning edition. Matthew Cox here running the point guard position from a remote location, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Jimmy's breeding ground, just a stone's throw, if you have a good arm, from the Pfizer Forum where I was at a concert last night. Right, it's like a flying saucer donut type of vibe, Jim. I like it. It's a good venue. I think it's a nice upgrade from the old Bradley Center, which we've been to multiple times. Anyway, how are both you fellas doing on this lovely Saturday, gloomy, cloudy morning in the
Matt, I'm
Midwest?
great. I'm excited that you remember to bring your spinny hat on your out-of-town
I know.
adventures.
I felt naked last weekend.
That's a
I
rarity for you, so it's
Yeah.
good to go, Kai.
Jim, I had it like minus 1,000 that he would forget his spinny hat on his little trip to
Lose.
Milwaukee. But yeah,
Lose.
it's a lot. There's no locks in betting, fellas. There's
Not
no
in this
locks.
business. No, sir.
I did have a
well-
takeaway, Matt. Actually,
Yeah,
really
please
quick.
do.
After like screaming, I'm not going to fade UConn the entire week. I went ahead and did it for a little bit of money yesterday.
too.
Stupid. UConn's really good. They're awesome. Didn't follow my own advice. Should do that more often, Matt.
Yeah, also, I'm going to put a little bit of blame on the Zags. I think they're just not quite what we want them to be, which we probably anticipated, but I think there was some Zag to blame there as well. Yeah, UConn's a great team. No disrespect there to Dan Hurley and the squad. Some are calling today the best slate of all time. I'm not ready to crown it such, but the Twitter sphere has certainly showered this slate with praise, and we'll hit all the big games. But more importantly, the chat mob questions will come in hot and heavy, I hope, at least, and we'll get to the nitty gritties. Let's lead with one of the big bad bashes of today, Jim. Arizona against Purdue. One of many quasi home games, I'll say, neutral sites that are located very close to one of the host teams, in this case in Indianapolis. Should be a heavy Purdue crowd. Arizona has not looked in any way vulnerable at all this year. I would think matchup-wise, they match up well with the Boilers and Mr. Zach Edey. But man, are they due for a bad game, even a B, a C game in this one?
Maybe, I looked it up. Kai, can you name the last time Purdue was a dog?
Wow, no. 2 years.
No, they were a dog actually 5 times last year, but 4 of them were
really?
as 1 point or 1.5. They actually lost at Maryland and at IU as a 1-point dog. But the last time they were more than 1 point was against Gonzaga last year when they won by 18 as a 6.5-point dog. Kai, you were in the building.
I was there. They dominated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Purdue's been great in these big games. Obviously, out in Maui, they covered 3 games. Not always pretty, but they found a way to get there. But yeah, I don't love the matchup for them. I think the guards are going to have a little bit of issue. Like Caleb Love is defending on the perimeter, like a phenomenal defender now suddenly, harassing the ball. And I think that can kind of be a little bit of a bugaboo still for Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. Lance Jones helps, but I don't think he's totally taken that issue away. And then Kai, Arizona is the best defensive rebounding team in the country by rate. If you can take that away a little bit from Purdue, like the size, just First and Kaufman Wren, and of course Edey hammering the glass, then you got a real chance. And again, just Arizona's the best team I've watched all year. So I think Arizona's probably the play, although the line has flipped.
Agreed. And Matthew, of course, doing the show from a hotel lobby. Excuse any ambient noise you might get. It's okay. We love it.
The Rockets are staying here. I think that was Rocket staff
yeah?
yelling. So yeah,
Nice.
so classic Rockets just not behaving.
Yeah,
I was going to tell him to mute when he's not talking, but he'll forget to unmute.
Yeah, I know. You gotta, it's Matthew. Yeah, this is an awesome game, man. My 2 cents, arguably the 2 best teams in the country. I agree with Jim. Arizona's the best team I've seen, although UConn, man, is making a push for it. This game's on Peacock. That's horrible. This game shouldn't be on Peacock. It's the best game of the day. I mean, that is ridiculous that I might have to go buy Peacock for at least a day. Like I've said earlier this week, if you've caught any of our shows, if anyone is equipped to put up at least a fight against Edey, it is Arizona, right? Ballo, he's a very big man. They have a little depth behind them too, up front, and the team's big all around. They can match up with Purdue's front court, their wing size, which is basically an advantage for Purdue every single game, not just Edey, but the other guys as well. But Jim mentioned the dynamism in the backcourt. That's advantage Arizona. And Arizona's defense, in addition to the rebounding, has been lights out. We know they can score on anyone. My gut here, Matt, is Arizona. Minus 1.5 right now, I think it is.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm on the Wildcats as well. Big number on the total, 165.5. Actually, a lot of these big games have just gargantuan totals. I'm not in the business of betting overs on neutral sites, so that's just kind of where I stand on that. But
Yeah,
We
especially in the
transition.
NBA arenas, Matt.
Yeah,
I don't love that.
again, I have no data to back that up. Just anecdotally, I don't love that. I think that's actually been a pretty good bet to the under typically, the last few years. But we transition seamlessly to another neutral site NBA arena host, UNC, Caleb Love's former team, taking on Big Blue Nation and Kentucky. Short spread here. The Heels favored by 1, Kai, 2 in some shops. It does feel like, as Jim mentioned in our group chat, Kentucky tends to rise to these games, and they've been kind of Jekyll and Hyde all year. But it seems like when the lights are bright, they do play well. However, you look at the resume; they haven't put up, they haven't added the beef that they need to really, solidify their at-large, their at-large case. I think this is a game they just play well. I know the question mark is, do they integrate the big seamlessly as they've gotten those guys healthy? They were all kind of guards to start. Now they have frontline dudes healthy. They'll need him today to combat Mr. Armando Bacot, but I worry that my Kentucky bet has some negative EV just with the sort of shifting tectonic plates in their roster and their rotation, I should say.
Yeah, for me, I know we just talked about the NBA arenas, but the over is where I'm looking in this game. I think it's going to play in the high.
Insane. Yeah.
I think it's going to play in the high 80s. Both teams love to run. I think the winning team gets 90. Both have excellent offenses. Both have so-so defenses. The concern is if Kentucky decides to play a lot of Onyenso or Bradshaw, I don't think they will play them an exorbitant amount. I think Cal kind of limits, certainly Onyenso coming back potentially for this game. But yeah, Kentucky's had some brilliant moments this year. But as Matt said, the resume, they need to rack up wins. UNC has the better wins right now, but we've seen them have lapses. They've had slow starts in at least 3 mid-major games. They've been pretty much down at halftime or neck and neck with teams they should be blowing out. I lean Kentucky here, Jim. Their shooting and their guard depth is real. They have bodies and athletes to throw up Bacot, UNC inside the arc. Lean towards the Cats, like the over as well.
Yeah, definitely into Kentucky and over. I did not bet this just because I'm not sure what Kentucky is right now with those guys back. You guys have already made that point, so I won't belabor it too much. But this is generally when I like Kentucky, when they look across the court and see a team that they feel is worthy of their effort. Young team that is prone to lapses in effort, I would say. That's why some of these home bye game results have not been very good, but when they play Miami, they smash, or when they play Kansas on a neutral floor, they look great. So I think they'll be locked in. That young, talented team, you get a home run effort from them. Just haven't totally felt out how they are with Bradshaw in the lineup, and now adding Onyenso. They can become this kind of dinosaur-esque Calipari team again, where they just have to pound the glass, or are they going to stay open and free and fast and taking a lot of threes? Because Matt, that's the better version of this team, and I hope they stick with that.
Yeah, I agree. It's the best version. Their guards are their strength, and I hope they stick with that today. I'm worried that the best guard on the floor actually plays for UNC and RJ Davis, but I think the depth and the firepower of the Wildcats guards prevails. But we'll see. Another heavyweight bout as we transition to Creighton against Alabama, Mr. McKeon. This one in Omaha, a true home, one of the few big games today on actual home turf. Big bounce back spot for the Jays. Got embarrassed, I would say, by UNLV. A shocking result, but the Mountain West has their number, apparently, if there's any real, something to that. But do they come back today against a very prolific, high-scoring Bama team that's played a bunch of big games, but hasn't quite proven that they can, beat these big-time elite squads?
Yeah, another game that should be pretty up and down. Although Creighton's been more want to play in the half court this season. I'm just not sure you can keep the scoring low with Bama. Their offense is electric. It is number 1 in the country. Creighton's defense is great, but I think Alabama pretty much scores on anybody. The Jays do defensive rebound. They play without fouling as well as anyone in the country. That's really key against this aggressive, athletic Alabama team. And we know Alabama wants to shoot threes. Nate Oates has said it a million times. They could shoot maybe 40 a game if they wanted to. Creighton's the best team in the country at running shooters off the line. That's a major matchup point in this game. The Jays have an excellent home floor off that loss. I lean towards Creighton on the matchup here, Jim. We know Alabama's defense is kind of a sieve against power competition, but man, 7.5 points. I thought the spread was way too high, so I stayed off it.
Yeah, it's a little high. I was hoping for where Ken Palm's got it at 5, even 5.5. I would have been pretty intrigued by it with the Blue Jays. You mentioned the whole shot profile thing. Creighton gives up the most mid-range jumpers in the country. Alabama takes the 3rd fewest. That's per hoop math. So something's got to give there. Is Alabama actually going to take those shots that Creighton gives them, or are they going to find a way to get threes the way they did against Purdue? And Kai, are they going to whine about free throw distribution like they did against Purdue? God, maddening. If you take 25 threes and 5 twos, you're not going to get to the line very often. So shut up.
And Zacky's pretty big. Zacky's also a large
individual, big guy.
plays a part in that. Yeah.
I like the spot for Creighton off the loss. I don't love like coming back from Vegas. I wish they had the week off the way Alabama has. So that gives me a little bit of pause. But Matt, I like just gut sense looking at this game. I was like, I think Creighton rolls. And the UNLV game, for whatever it's worth, shot quality scored it as a Creighton 14-point win, which looking at the box score, like I kind of buy it. Maybe not to that degree, but directionally for
The
sure.
Revs made tough shots. They made tough shots in that game for sure.
And last time Creighton laid a stinker against the Mountain West team, they won at Oklahoma State by 14 the next time out. So
Yep.
I think we get a very strong effort from Creighton, would certainly lean their way.
I would agree. But yeah, 7's too much. Like, I mean, the market, I think, overbet this personally, but we'll see. We transition to Michigan State against Baylor. I would say hosting Baylor, but it's at Little Caesars Pizza Arena Gym in Detroit. So one of these quasi home games, pizza. I mean, we call it a bounce back spot we just call it a do spot. You know, will Sparty ever show up to the level we thought they would preseason? I know we've kind of belabored their issues shooting wise, shot selection wise, even defensively. They kind of have some holes, Jim. Is there any appetite in your stomach for a quasi home dog Tom Izzo team against Baylor, who is awesome, but is probably due for some shooting regression?
Yeah, that's kind of like every statistic regression wise is like, you have to bet Michigan State here. What are you doing? Bet them. But then every single ounce of basketball I've watched this year was like, you got to bet Baylor here. Like, have you watched Michigan State? The team's a joke. Kai, Baylor's actually the team that gives up the second most mid-range jumpers in the country, right behind Creighton. But Michigan State can kind of thrive there. That's where Tyson Walker lives. He's an assassin from there. Akins is pretty solid in that range. Malik Hall's okay in that like mid-post type area. I think Michigan State can figure this out, get a good result, get back rolling here. I didn't bet it because I was hoping for a little bit of a higher number, like 4.5, 5. Yeah. But at 3, 2.5, definitely lean Michigan State. But I can't do it. I can't do it with what my eyes have watched this year.
Yeah, I'm pretty much lockstep there. It feels like Sparty gets this one, right? They need this game very much on their resume. They have 0 good wins. They're under 500. Detroit obviously should have a vast majority of Spartan fans here. I doubt Baylor travels to Detroit on December 16th for this game. But Baylor is clearly better. Their offense rocks. Can they sustain 46% from 3 all season? Probably not. And Jim mentioned regression. They're a great candidate. Number 1 in the country in three-point percentage offense. They're also 15th in the country in three-point percentage defense. That screams regression. But Matt Baylor clearly has the edge on the glass, especially when Izzo refuses to play his 5-star center, Xavier Booker. This is a classic Michigan State physical mucks-it-up game. That's what they need to do here. Their offense is obviously bad, but Walker can play hero ball. They're going to shoot better from the perimeter eventually. I still don't believe they're a sub-30% three-point shooting team. I agree it's kind of tough eye test versus regression/feel. 3.5, I passed Matt, but I lean towards Sparty.
Yeah, market has no real opinion on this game. I mean, it opened 3.5, 4. It's been sitting there, and then the total at 144, and that really hasn't moved much either. So sharp work by the odds makers.
I didn't see 4s, Matthew. I maybe take Sparty.
3.5.
I think it opened 4.5 somewhere overnight at least.
It's mostly 3.5 now.
Yeah,
I think 4 has my attention, but not enough to actually back it. It's time for chat mob inquiries. Who's running the czar today, Jimbo or Kyle?
I got it. Good. Matt, I'm going to go right back to you. Question from a fellow Matt Akers. UNC Wilmington, a road warrior, having won at Rupp already. They're at Georgia Southern, Matthew, a team who is 0-10, but might be trending up. A little more player availability coming there. Anything for you on that game?
I was almost going to take the home doggy. Winless team, tough to back a team that's they say tough to bet on a do horse, but their only competitive game this year was at home, and they are healthier this go around. I think Eugene Brown's back, correct? And they have one more guy back lineup as well. Wilmington's good.
Brown was in, then back out. Like, I don't know if he's playing.
No one knows. But Wilmington defensively, I'm not super impressed. I think they actually give a lot of points. I like the over actually more than anything here. It could have been bet down. I disagree with the market. I think I like the over 142.
All right, Kai, we're going to you for a game in Phoenix where St. Mary's seems to play every year at the Suns Arena. They're taking on UNLV. UNLV, of course, off that big win over Creighton. Kai, SMC laying 6.
I lean St. Mary's here. I think UNLV had a home run effort against Creighton. I'm still a big believer in the Gales. I think they're a really good team still. They won at Colorado State. They're still good despite their early season struggles, we'll say. But 6 a little high for me to lay, but I still lean their way.
Yeah, they got a really good Josh Jefferson game and Marshall Leonis. Those like the two swing pieces for the Gales. If those guys actually play well like they did at Colorado State, that team's really good. Matthew from Brett, Georgia Tech at Penn State, two first-year coaches that I got a little too excited about to start the year and have been kind of dismal this year. What do you think about these two?
Market likes Penn State, then bet up to 3.5. Shocked by that, actually. Yeah, Jim, as you mentioned, this game's at the Garden, but Penn State's defense is just pretty terrible. I'll be honest. I like the over. Market bet this up to 149 against the right side. I don't have any value in my numbers, Mr. McKeon, but I think the over is a good bet here. Pace should be high and efficiency should be solid.
Yep, efficiency should be great from what I've seen of the Penn State defense. Kai, another question from Matt Akers. San Francisco, not South Florida. I wrote USF and confused myself. San Francisco at Utah State. The Aggies have taken a decent amount of money at home in this one. Any take or any play for you on that?
Not quite at home. I think it's in Salt Lake, but I did give a little bit of home for Utah State. I love Utah State in this game. 2.5, 3 was where I really loved it. 3.5, I'm thinking about it more, but they have the size to go against Mobo for San Francisco. I think they're the much better team right now. I like San Francisco, but I think they're a little bit overvalued in the market. So Utah State for me.
Kind of with you there. All right, two more, and then we'll go back to the outline. Matthew, you get Towson versus Bryant. Should be the debut of Nenda Tark for Towson, a team that badly needs guards. Bryant has been a weird team to figure out. Suddenly in a defensive juggernaut, Matthew.
I think 2 weeks ago I would be all over Bryant big time, but I've kind of opened my eyes to Towson being better than I thought. It's a young team, but it's still a team that wins the possession battle. They rebound, and they haven't actually turned it over a ton despite their youth. And Tarky could go. It could help or hurt, but I think he at least provide some dynamism in the backcourt there. I stayed away. I will probably regret that. I think my lean is to Bryant. I think they're a better team.
All right, and Kai, I have an opinion on this game. I'm curious if you share it. Florida A&M is at Iowa, not at Iowa. It's in Des Moines, so it's not a home game. It's not at Carver Hawkeye. But Iowa's off 3 straight losses, playing a garbage team. Why is Fran McCaffrey not going to just aim for 110 and kill this team?
Yeah, I think they'll crush them. FAMU's been a little too feisty for my taste against power competition with big spreads. Obviously, one of those was at home, so kind of throw that one out. But it gave me enough hesitation to stay off it, but I certainly lean towards Iowa.
Okay, I took Iowa. I just the 3 straight losses, angry Fran, and I couldn't stay away. Couldn't turn it down. All right, Matthew, we are going back to the outline. I'm going to holster the rest of the chat questions for our second mob section.
Yeah, well, huge showdown. Memphis hosting Clemson. Penny and the boys are off a pretty huge win at Texas A&M. I think they're looking to add to their resume today. The market likes the host Tigers, Kai. Certainly one of those odd spots where you have the unranked team favored, wink, wink.
The
Are you going
AP
to fake
poll
Clemson?
does not matter for
Doesn't
handicapping.
matter. I know.
It doesn't
I can't,
matter. It is
can't
not
underscore
relevant
that
to a
enough.
line. I want to just
However,
emphasize
It's
that.
not a real thing. It is entirely
real.
coincidence. The ranked thing versus
it's a
unranked
fugazi.
thing favored
It
is
is.
not a real angle. It will lose
However,
in the long run.
I do like Memphis today, so I do think that angle does cover. Kai, your thoughts? And I'm probably the one who's least receptive to respecting what Clemson's done so far. They're very good. I'm just not ready to crown them as like this top 15 type team. Mark agrees with me. What's your take on this game?
Tiger on tiger action, baby. Yeah. Huge home spot, obviously, for Memphis. No Jordan Brown, because what's going on with Jordan Brown? We don't know.
He's ill.
He's ill. Yeah, plenty of talent, athleticism still, obviously, for Memphis. No Tomlin yet, I don't think. He's probably still not till whenever their second semester starts. But, man, Clemson's been incredible, guys. And they've already won 2 true road games, at Alabama, at Pitt. PJ Hall's number 4 in KenPom Player of the Year rankings, and this team rocks. And their shooting's for real. It's 40%-ish on the year. Every single player on the floor is a threat to pull from deep for them. They really space it. I actually kind of like Clemson here. The spot screams Memphis. I've just been too impressed with Clemson to take Memphis in this game.
Yeah, number leans Memphis for me, but I was like, no, I don't want to bet Penny Hardaway against Clemson, who is like up there in the top 3 of teams I trust this year. Like, they're smart, they're well coached. They've already won on the road at Alabama in a hostile environment. This isn't anything new for them. They've won on neutral floors. They've won every year. This Clemson team rules. They have an All-American and great guards around them. So yeah, gut wanted to bet Clemson, number lean the other way. So Matthew, I had to sit it out. But I think if I had to bet it, I'd go Clemson just because I trust them.
Sorry, I was on mute there. I like the I'm buying into the players only meetings that Memphis had with Javon Quanley and the squad there. David Jones, I think, is fully healthy, but he was nursing an ankle injury, something to keep an eye on there. He is massive for that team. I did not know he'd be such a capital A alpha, but that's kind of what he's turned into. He's just been a mismatch nightmare for teams. DePaul had him. Why was DePaul not better with David Jones? That aside, we digress. Next game, Ohio State against UCLA. We talked about Kentucky UNC. This is the matinee, if you will, at State Farm Arena in Georgia. Jim, I'm not a huge fan of either team. I'll just be honest. UCLA feels like they're in the better spot here, although both teams off tough losses. Ohio State lost at Penn State, blew a huge lead. Should have probably won that game. UCLA just got bit by the Villanova variance bug. What do you like in this one?
I don't like UCLA's offense. That's the thing that I
like their
hate
defense
most in this matchup. Yeah, defense is really good. I was really impressed with it against Marquette, but man, they cannot score. They haven't figured out lineups. The international freshmen are not immediate impact pieces, despite everybody's immediate claims to the opposite.
When can I beat my
UCLA
trust on UCLA? By the way, at some point I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it yet.
If they lose today, I'll allow
okay.
it. If they win today, then you kind of gotta hesitate and say, oh, they might actually make the tournament. But they're going all the way across the country to Atlanta for this one. Ohio State, a little bit easier travel. Gale and Middleton are both playing. That's announced per Mr. Rothstein. They're both questionable. I sort of like the under just because of the way UCLA is skewed, but Ohio State still hasn't fully figured out the defense thing under Holtman for like the third straight year. That concerns me. Kai, I'd probably go Ohio State if I had to. I just don't think UCLA is very good. I'm kind of with Matt now.
Yeah, the travel's worse for UCLA. Who knows that matters here, right, in the neutral spot. It's in Atlanta, right, you mentioned. Two well-coached teams, I think. You guys mentioned UCLA's defense has been great. Their offense, though, man, they can't shoot, and they're not willing to shoot. They're bottom 5 in the country in three-point attempt rate. They're 215th in three-point percentage, but they do grind. And Ohio State, a team maybe susceptible to that type of style of play. I've been really impressed with Zed Key off the bench. He's really embraced his role. He's been fantastic, dominant inside on the glass. Roddy Gale, Jim mentioned, that injury is pretty important. If he's out of this game, he's extremely dynamic, a creator, takes away a weapon for them. He's been excellent this year. So is Thornton, so is Battle, so is Bonner. All their guards are shooting over 40% from three. I do lean towards Ohio State here, Matt, but UCLA definitely needs this one more. 0 good wins. 0 wins against the top 250 in KenPom so far.
Yeah, -2. 132 is the current total. Man, big money on the under. That does feel low, but as we mentioned, I think we trust the defense and the pace of UCLA to kind of dictate how this game plays out. Yeah, just a hard. This is in the top 10 of stay away games for me today. So good luck to those of you who are involved. Yes. Next on the outline, my beloved Hoosiers hosting Rock Chalk Jayhawk at Assembly Hall. Have some intel. This is a game that's during break, Mr. McKeon. So while it will be a hype home crowd as it always is at the hall, it will not be, I think, turned up to 11 as we would expect when the students are on campus. It's a stripe out. Indiana at the hall is always a different base of stripe out. Yes, red, white, very unique there. Kansas, I've been fading Kansas a lot, and it's been somewhat successful. I was on Mizzou, I was on UMKC. I think they're very good. I don't think they're a team that can cover margin, and certainly when you're laying what the current price is 7 a touchdown, it's too many. I'm sorry. I'm taking the Hoosiers. I know XJ is out for this game, but I'm on Indiana.
It's about as big of a game as it gets for Indiana. Students, you're on break. Come on, you got to go to this game. If I went to Indiana, I wouldn't go back until after this game. That's just, come on.
Could have gone.
This is a basketball school, Indiana. You got to stay for this game. I think it's going to be a really good home crowd. I think XJ out does not matter whatsoever. I'm fine with him being out of this game. I agree. The spread's too big. I lean towards Indiana. The front court battle, obviously the one to watch. Can Kansas stop, Ware, renew? They should be able to, but KJ Adams apparently limited in practice last couple days. He's very key. If he's even 70%, that's a big swing for Indiana, especially when they're
4 players. Team is 4 players.
They're catching. Well, both teams kind of have 4 players. The bench is non-existent for either team. But yeah, Jim, 7.5, huge home spot for Indiana. I lean their way.
Yeah, the XJ thing is odd because I don't think he's all that good. I'm kind of with you, Kai. I'm not worried about him being out. But then I look at the replacements and their lack of a bench. I'm like, well, I guess they'd like a semi-useful point guard out there. This is a nice matchup for Indiana in terms of their over-helping on the perimeter doesn't hurt them. Kansas isn't going to bury 3-point jumpers over and over and over again. but Kansas 2-point percentage defense is top 10 in the country, and IU cannot shoot, doesn't want to shoot, will not shoot, will never be able to shoot. So I feel like they're going to have a hard time scoring. I think pace is going to be a little higher than I would like. Otherwise, I would say under. I think efficiency is going to be gross in this game with both teams trying to get into the paint against each other. But man, Matt, I don't really trust IU's defense. I know you kind of hyped it preseason, but it's not very good. So I'm not excited.
It's good against certain types of offenses and certain matchups. It's a little robotic. Yeah, Jordan Majeski's pointed out. A lot of people have just how they're so wired to defend the paint at all costs, and Kansas is not a great shooting team. I think you can defend them more effectively and you make them turn them into a jump shooting team. As the assembly call really pointed out, you're gonna need a big Trey Galloway game here today if you're right. Like he can't lay an egg, as Kai's laughing evilly as
well. I'm rooting for him, Matt.
It's not a prolific, super quick backcourt like Auburn has, right? Or Baylor. Like if those are the types of teams I think give IU problems. I know Kansas is a team that really bothers IU because their guards aren't like electrically dynamic. But yeah, what you're saying, go ahead.
Can I just add that I think Indiana can be a good defensive team, and they've shown it. They can't. It's effort. Like they do not care about mid-major, low-major games. They will not put forth effort. Right. But against Kansas, I think it's going to be a little bit more digging in on defense, or at least I hope. At least I hope.
Don't give up 1.4 points per possession like you did against Auburn. But Auburn was scorching hot from three, and Kansas won't do that.
Yeah.
Right. Auburn's good. Yeah, that's my takeaway on that one. We move on to our last game before we go to Chat Mob round 2. Another quasi-home game. Houston hosting Texas A&M. This game is at the Toyota Center, which I believe where the Houston Rockets play, who are across the I'm watching some familiar faces. I'm not good at, I don't know the NBA that well enough, but yeah, some known pros are walking across right now. Jim, I like the Aggies here. It's been bet down to 7. The market agrees with me. Fading Houston is never a profitable endeavor, but I do think A&M has the toughness and the grit to compete with Houston in the possession extras battle, as Buzz calls it.
Yeah, wrote this one up for Action Network. Certainly lean Texas A&M. The offenses are kind of mirror images of each other. Like, don't turn the ball over, crash the offensive glass. Like, they're the same in that sense. Houston does have a little more shooting, which, the way Texas A&M defends, they basically are compact in the paint. You have to go over the top. So Houston can kind of do that. But I think both teams also really rely on transition offense to stay efficient. And if neither team turns it over, then you're not getting those runouts and easy buckets. So I do lean Texas A&M, Matt, just because they're, I think a pretty good underdog, and Houston is not that battle tested. They played 7 Q4 games so far already this season. Texas A&M has played a mega tough schedule. They're back to full health with Radford back in there and Coleman back in there. So lean towards A&M, but I would have liked the 8. I'm not going to strongly recommend it, Kai, with it at 7.
Yeah, 2 extremely physical teams. Houston's D has been lights out. It's the best in the country. They're going to make life hard on Wade Taylor, but hey, Wade Taylor's excellent. He's definitely among the point guards in the country I would pick to go against Houston's defense if I had to choose one. The question is, can Houston keep A&M off the glass? This is kind of what's driving A&M's offense this year. Top 10 offense, basically because they do so well on the offensive glass. And Houston's been surprisingly susceptible on that end, at least the defensive rebounding aspect. They also foul a ton. A good point in A&M's favor with how physical they play, with how they attack the basket. And Jim's right. It is sort of a mirror image offensively for these teams, right? Both teams have talented guards who can make plays. Both do most of their work offensively on the glass. In a game where it's going to be sort of an all-out bruise battle, I tend to lean towards the sizable dog. But fading Houston, Matt, doesn't seem very fun either. So I stayed on the fence.
Yeah, I think the neutral, the fact that it's not actually at home makes me a little more confident in A&M. I think it could be an ugly, low-scoring game, which would favor the dog here. I just saw that Hillel Ware is iffy today. It's one of those Big Ten injury reports where it has everyone listed as questionable, but it's not really any teeth to it. I think he was okay. Good.
He was questionable last game too. I don't think.
He played 28 minutes, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess he wasn't good, but that was Auburn's guards more than him. Anyway, Chat Mob round 2. Let's do it.
Let's fire it up. Kyle, go to you first. Vermont headed to Virginia Tech. Was a little surprised to see this in the single digits, but Virginia Tech did not have Sean Padula last weekend. Think he's supposed to be back. Mike Young expects him back. Anything for you on that game?
No, I got nothing. I don't like laying almost double digits against Vermont ever, like any year. They're just a really good team, like really good program, good dog. I stayed away.
Yeah, got Bogues and Veretto back.
That's key.
I don't think those guys are mega healthy, like 100%, but they're out there, and that matters quite a bit. Matthew, a lot of questions in the chat about your Owls. Headed up the Northeast to take on St. Bonaventure. This is a neutral site game in Massachusetts. I think it's like the Hall of Fame Classic, I believe.
Yep.
The last 2 games, Bonnies have beaten local-ish rivals Canisius and Niagara by combined like 1,000 points. Do they keep rolling, or do your Owls shut them down?
No, you back Florida Atlantic or you don't bet this game. I didn't because I respect Mark Schmidt and I don't have the data in front of me, but Mark Schmidt as a dog with time to prep is probably a pretty good endeavor. But FAU's just been awesome. Like, I don't think you can poke holes at what they've done. Other than the Illinois nuclear shooting performance, they've been, nails. So the market has FIU tagged as an elite team, and I agree with them. It's up to 10 in most shops now. So yeah, it's a big number. Again, Mass Mutual Center, not a true home game, but closer to Bonnie's there.
From Austin Rayleigh, Kyle, take this one. Missouri State visiting Tulsa. Both teams were missing a key guard last game. Missouri State missing Matthew Lee, who is like their big time creator, table setter. Offense gets really stuck in the mud when he's not out there. And Tulsa is missing Keaston Willis, big time scorer. I actually like Tulsa at home. Just one right now in the market, pretty much across the board. I did bet the Golden Hurricanes there at -1, but would prefer Willis playing. But with Lee out on the other side, I think that offsets it. Kai, a team that I know you love dearly, Air Force. The Air Troops are headed to UT Arlington. Arlington likely getting a boost with Philip Russell, probably debuting as a 2-time transfer. Anything for you, though, now with Petritis back in the lineup for Air Force?
Yeah, I think this is at in Fort Worth, so technically neutral.
Yeah,
obviously skews towards Arlington. I didn't play anything. I lean Arlington, just kind of a gut feel in this game, but nothing for me.
Yeah, -1. I took Arlington. I'm sorry. I like Air Force. They're not this good. Sorry.
Air Force.
I digress. Did you really?
I took Yep.
Okay.
I think they're just about even. I think the line is great. It's a good line.
Matthew, another neutral site game, Indiana State and Ball State. No real home because both teams are Indiana local and it's Indianapolis. I know Alan Boston bet Ball State, Matthew. I am not in the business of fading the Sycamores. So what did you do with this game?
Yeah, I would lean Ball State, but as I mentioned, Indiana State's on the short list of teams I'm not fading. FAU's on that list. Indiana State's on the list. I think Isaiah Swope is confirmed playing today, returning after missing his revenge opportunity against Southern Indiana. So a huge piece. But I think this team is just bulletproof, system proof. Doesn't really matter. I just wouldn't fade Indiana State. I would just advise you to not do that.
Yeah, Ball State still without Davian Bailey, I think. Indiana State -14.5 is one of my best bets. Go Sycamores.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah,
they're good.
With the 6. All right, next one. Kai, Loyola, Maryland visiting George Mason. Not a lot of travel here, both in the DMV area. George Mason's been pretty solid, but it's a big number, low total. Sometimes makes you lean dog. I like the under here. Do you like anything on this?
Yeah, I also lean towards the under, Jim. I can't remember if I actually bet it. That's how many games there are today. I kind of lean towards the dog, but nothing strong at all. Nothing.
Big money on dog, down to 13, open 16, I think. Yeah.
I don't love the Greyhounds, so good luck, I guess.
I agree.
I don't either. I lean towards them every single game for the last 5 years. So I clearly have a problem with Loyola Maryland. I stopped betting them.
Santi Aldama not walking through that door.
Yeah, I stopped betting them a long time ago.
Matthew from Graham, any thoughts on the Samford Belmont total? Obviously, very high total. Both teams like to run. Samford's been shooting the lights out lately. Jermaine Marshall is back. What do you got?
Yeah, it opened 172, which was just bananas high. It's been bet down to 167, which is still very high, but I think the market was smart to go under on any total over 170. It's just a stupid high total. They've played the last 2 years, right? It's pretty crazy games back and forth. I guess I lean towards Samford because they're a better team at home, and Belmont away from home has been a different team. But this Belmont team has been a lot better than I thought. Young, rapidly improving, and Malik Dia has been a game changer up front. Absolute game changer.
He's like top 5 usage in the country, which is wild for Belmont team.
Coming off the bench, yeah, he looks like a different player for Belmont.
All right, Kai, a battle of the state of Ohio. Dayton headed to Cincinnati, not to the actual Cincinnati arena. This is another one of those quasi-home games. Anything for you on this one? This is another one where I kind of gravitated towards the under.
Yeah, it's getting a little high for my taste. I didn't have anything initially. 5.5. I think Dayton's pretty tough to beat soundly. They just watching them in those NTEs in November, they just hang around. Dron Holmes is clearly an incredible talent. and they're physical, well coached, play good defense. I guess slightly into Dayton, nothing strong. I love Cincinnati too, so just stay away.
Matthew, I'm seeing reports in the chat that Raz gave out Cal Baptist at Riverside today.
My
big,
Lancers.
big rivalry game there.
Yeah.
I am on the other side. I like the Highlanders. Do you have anything in that game?
No, I had this is my biggest notepad of any game today. I had a million notes in this game. They all conflicted. I stayed away. Yeah, huge rivalry for those that don't know in the Riverside proper. I like both teams. I like both coaches relative to their market value. I stayed away. I wish you luck in your Raz one-on-one battle, Jimbo.
Head to head, square enough. All right, Kai, I know you have an opinion on this game, and you are from the city of St. Louis. The Billikens are hosting Louisiana Tech, who have been terrific defensively with Daniel Bacho in the lineup. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I bet at Louisiana Tech at the lower number. Honestly, 3.5. I'd still probably lean their way. Look, SLU has been way more competitive than I expected with these guys out. Jemerson's become just a flamethrower the last couple of games. I still think they aren't very good. They don't have any depth. Even with Ezewiro maybe playing today, the Georgetown transfer, I still don't give him a ton of credit. So Louisiana Tech for me in this game.
Go Dogs.
Matthew, are you backing Chicago's Big Ten team, or are you playing possessed with the Demons? Northwestern on the road at DePaul, big old Chicago showdown.
Well, Chicago's team is Chicago State. Let's just get that straightened out. But I think it's a big number. Obviously, Northwestern should be relatively focused and angry after literally losing to Chicago State, as we just mentioned. -10, I don't know. Feels too high. I can't trust either team right now, so I stayed away.
I don't understand why Northwestern's defense is so much worse than last year. Like, I know Adige was a good defender, but they still got Nicholson, and they've not been very good at the rim, which is surprising. Journalism Matumbo is not living up to his nickname.
I took a little Northwestern, Jim. I think they get
Smack
back this game.
The Demons, yeah, I buy that.
From Barry Kai, Georgetown headed to Notre Dame. I said this to you guys. I think Jaden Epps is like one of the bigger swing pieces in the country. If he's out, the under feels like a great bet to me, and I kind of lean Notre Dame too. We don't even know if he's traveling to this game. Cooley said 50-50, so I don't know for sure if he'll play, but I'm guessing not. What do you think in that game?
Yes, I like the under in this game. I was hoping to get a better number on Notre Dame, but I was surprised it was 4.5. I guess KenPom has it 5. Can't lay 5 with Notre Dame. I just can't do it. They're a really good dog, like a really good sizable dog, just because of their pace of play. But land points, even against Georgetown, not my cup of tea. So just stay with the under.
2-2 against the spread as a favorite, covered against Eastern Shore and one other one that's escaping me, and then 2 losses as well. Matthew, I'm going to set you up for one of your favorite lines as a handicapper. Richmond is hosting the 49ers. What do you got in this game? Richmond laying 4.5.
Well, I don't know why this spread opens so low. I thought it'd be like 7 or something. I think KenPom has it close to 7. I think Richmond is good, but they shouldn't be favored by a lot over Charlotte. And I think the market opener got this one right. I was eager to back our Niners, but the price is too low, so I stayed away. Sorry, Jim.
I think it's just Delani Hunt based. Like they've haircut Richmond spreads due to his injury
because he's been out. Okay,
that's my guess.
King's been great though without him. I don't think it's a huge deal, but yeah.
Richmond got a little inflated by blowing out like Siena, terrible, VMI, all freshmen.
Yep.
Matt, I was waiting for you to say the secret lies with Charlotte, and you didn't. So thanks.
The secret does lie with Charlotte. I think it does today, Jim, but I was more confident when I was hoping it was going to be 7 last night. It's not. Odds makers, they're good sometimes.
All right. 3 more real quick. Kai, UCSB at LMU, battle out in California. No Josh Pierre-Louis. Anything for you on that game? I stayed far away.
I stayed away also. 3.5 number wise, kind of lean towards Santa Barbara, but you got no personnel. No JPL, Jim mentioned. Kelly LePepe didn't play for Loyola Marymount last game. He's pretty important. Good luck finding any information on Kelly LePepe. Go ahead. Please try.
Text Stan for you. I could text Stan. I'm sorry. I probably should have done that. That's all.
Yeah. Get it done, Matthew.
Bad show, pro.
All right. You each get a game from the HBCU showdown in Las Vegas. Matt, you get Jackson State and Howard. What do you got there?
Nothing. I'm just targeting the unders tomorrow in the back-to-back, I think, at a neutral site. That's my only angle of this. It's a 14 back-to-back showcase. Is that right? That's okay. Yep. Yeah. I guess I lean Jackson State as a dog. Personally, I think they're basically equals with Howard, and catching 3 seems a little bit foolish, but nothing strong there.
Okay, Kai, that means you get Texas Southern and NC A&T, who I think is bottom 2 or 3 in the country, and I think numbers kind of bear that out. But Texas Southern's been off forever. Any thoughts?
Double digits, neutral floor. I lean towards A&T. I did not take them. I agree with you that they are one of the worst teams in the country. Lean towards A&T.
All right, and then last one from Graham. I see Arkansas versus Lipscomb. This is, again, not a true home game. I think it's in Little Rock. I like Arkansas. Lipscomb's down Darren Boyd, still down Ignacevic. Arkansas should be angry at this point. They might get Keon Menafield, could get a little bit of a perimeter shooting boost from him with him getting the waiver. Still think this Arkansas team's kind of maddening, makes me pull my hair out, but definitely in their way with Lipscomb's personnel limitations. Maddie, that's it. Should we do a quick best bet roundup?
Yeah.
We shall. Kai, do you have your best bet chosen? And I can stall for you while you select it. If not, I'm not going to hold your heat to the fire. You're welcome to abstain. It'd be the first time in history that we've abstained from actually giving out best bets on a show called Best Bets, but you're welcome to do so. I will not force it.
Though we're independent currently on this show, we should still give out some best bets.
We should.
I like West Virginia over. That's my best bet. With the guys coming back in the lineup, Kirk Risa, Raekwon Battle, Noah Farrakhan. I think that kind of changes their style. Obviously, offense will flow. West Virginia over 148.5, whatever it is right now, 149.
Confirming. Yes, 149 is your official number. Thanks, Gabble. Jim, to you.
Yeah, not a great number, but lock it in.
Indiana State gave out already, minus 14.5. I just want to keep rolling with that juggernaut. Ball State doesn't really scare me, especially with Bailey out. They're arguably their best shooter. And then a total, Bucknell and Radford. I'm going with the under in that one. Both teams have been playing a little bit faster competition, which I think has artificially inflated their tempos. I think they both agree to a slow down, walk it up rock fight in this one. So 132.5. I'll take the under in Bucknell Radford. Matthew, to you.
We talked about this game. I'll make it official now. Louisiana Tech, I'm going to fade SLU here. I just think they've impressed me on the road. Their front line has like a gargantuan edge against SLU's depleted and just general lack of bodies up front. So I think that defense travels and should be an ugly cover. That offense never, it doesn't set the world on fire. I think their defense still carries them to a smooth cover today at Chaffetz. I think that's going to add a NC State. I'm on the fence. I like it a lot. I think Tennessee is a little bit overrated, and I think NC State's been better than people realize. I'll do it right now. Fine. 2 best bets for me. NC State plus 9.5. This game is at a neutral site, which is where, Jim? Help me out.
San Antonio. One
San
of the
Antonio.
Random locations
Super
for these two
yes.
teams to play.
I gave negative home to both teams. That's all we have, folks. Thank you for coming out. Come back next Saturday at our normally scheduled time.
Podcast Wednesday.
Podcast this Wednesday. Just follow us on Twitter at 3MW_CBB. We will keep you posted on all schedule updates, but we'll plan to retain the status quo. Today, maybe 3-point variance ever be in your favor.